Premium Times has this headline: How Governors Chairmen Perpetuate Corruption at the Local Government Level. This is according to President Muhammadu Buhari. Daily Trust has this headline: Campaign, Caution Your Thugs. NSA warns governors. And finally, the Cable says we've not defaulted on debt repayment. This is according to Zainab Ahmed. She says Nigeria is not broke. Well, this is Citizen 93.7 FM, and it's time for our newspaper review. You're listening to the Super Citizen at Sunrise. My name is Stanley BENTU. You can call me Stanley. Please do not call me sir. Thank you very much. Okay, let's go straight to our first story. I will give you the details on that one. This one was published in The Punch. The headline reads, Oil-producing states borrow 1.3 trillion naira amidst a 6.4 trillion naira windfall. And here are the details of that particular story. The total debt of 10 oil-producing states rose from 2.04 trillion naira as of December 2015 to 3.35 trillion as of June 2022. And this is according to the subnational debt reports of the Debt Management Office. Okay, now everybody knows how much the federal government owes, and that's why sometimes I ask my guests, is it that the center is too powerful, or is it that we're just not paying too much attention to what's happening in the states? And I always hear, no, it's the center that is immensely powerful. Everybody can tell you how much the federal government owes. But do you know that your state governments owe tons and tons of money, and this is in spite of all of the money that's going to them? Now, these are the states that receive statutory allocation in addition to 13% derivation, in addition to interventions from organizations like the NDDC. So, it's meant that a total of 1.31 trillion was borrowed within a period of about 7 years by the states. And these states are Rivers, Akwa Ibom, Delta, Edo, Abia, Ondo, Imo, Cross Rivers, Bayelsa, and Lagos. Who would have thought? Well, this came as findings by The Punch showed that the oil-producing states received the sum of 6.4 trillion in federal allocation and 13% derivation fund. Now, the federal government disbursed a total of 1.9 trillion as a share of the 13% derivation fund to oil-producing states. Federal Ministry of Finance, Budget and National Planning, the minister, Zainab Ahmed, disclosed this yesterday at the 6th edition of the PMB Administration Scorecard. So she stated that the amount was paid in 7 years, despite some of the funds preceding the current administration. So basically what she's saying is that the current administration actually paid backlogs, some of the monies that have been paid owed to these state governments. And she also said one of the key functions of the Ministry of Finance and Budget and National Planning is in support of states. So she the president understands very clearly that this economy wouldn't have been growing consecutively or wouldn't have been able to pull ourselves out of recession twice. And she says that we wouldn't have been able to grow consistently without enabling the states to grow, because it is a federation after all. So according to her, and I quote, Mr. President has been very uniquely generous in his support of the state. Well, I don't know about generosity, because a lot of these things are statutory, so they're supposed to be done. If a previous administration didn't do it, then that's on them. But I don't think that a government should be considered generous simply because they did the right thing. But she did go on to say that no president has provided the level of support provided to the states of the federation as the current one. So, according to the minister, he understands that the federating units need to work together as one to achieve the targets that he has set for the country. So, basically, a lot of support goes to the subnational level. In 7 years, 1.9 trillion in funds to oil-producing states. So how does that go? It's an interesting thing, and I'd very much like to hear your views on that. But I also want to go on to the next story, because it's sort of connected. This time, Premium Times will take the Premium Times version of that story. And this is a quote from President Buhari. The headline reads, How Governors Chairmen Perpetuate Corruption at the Local Government Level. I gave my take earlier on, but let's take the story as presented by Premium Times. President Muhammadu Buhari has flayed the tendency of some state executive to encourage corruption at the local government system, thereby inhibiting development at the grassroots. Now, the president made his feelings known at a meeting with the members of the Senior Executive Course number 44, 2022 of the National Institute of Policy and Strategic Studies in Kuru, Plateau State. And that was yesterday in Abuja. Now, he narrated his personal experience on stemming the tide of corruption in the local government system after the presentation of the reports of NIPSEC 44. President Buhari listened to comments on the Course 44 presentation themed Strengthening Local Governance in Nigeria, Challenges, Options, and Opportunities. And these were made by some members of the Federal Executive Council who aired their personal views on enhancing the autonomy of local governments. And so, the president went on to share his own experience. So let's go back and listen to what the president said.
The treatment of local governments. What they did, this is my personal experience. If the monies from the federal government to state government, say it's 100 million, let's put it 100 million. 50 million will be sent to the chairman with a letter that he will sign that he received 100 million. The governor will pocket the balance and share it with whoever he wanted. And then the chairman of the local government will see how much he must pay in salaries to help goes to development. Money for the salaries will be given and the balance will put in his pocket. This was happening. This is Nigeria. It's a terrible thing. You cannot say the person who was doing that was not educated. He was a qualified lawyer. He was experienced. Yet he participated in this type of corruption. So it's a matter of conscience. Whichever level we find ourselves, that you need us to sit here with all the sacrifices the country is making by putting you through institutions and getting you ready to lead. The fundamental thing is personal integrity. May God help us.
Abuja, let's talk about it on our favorite radio station. Talk to us on 93.7 Citizen FM.
Well, that was the voice of President Muhammadu Buhari as he spoke yesterday at the State House. Well, this is Citizen 93.7 FM, and you are listening to the Super Citizen at Sunrise. It's time for our newspaper review, and I've been sharing some of those stories with you. I would love to hear your point of views, so you can feel free to join me. What do you think about all of this? Is it the federal government feeling just frustrated with our state governors, or is there another thing going on here? Now, there's still more that the federal government said critical of the state governments. But how does this affect the principle of devolution of powers, especially those being promoted by the opposition People's Democratic Party? The candidate of that party, Atiku Abubakar, says that he wants to devolve. He wants to take more things from the executive lists, put them on the concurrent list, and then have their appropriate or associate revenues allocated or tagged to that. So what do you think? I would love to hear from you. Call me on 0903 22 29 797. Or you could also reach us on 0818 22 22 205. Failing that, you could call 0808 22 22 037. You could also send WhatsApp messages to any of these numbers. Critical question that we have to answer here. Do we have enough accountability at the state levels? Are the state governors actually doing all that they can to make sure that our development plans are going on according to according to plan? Or does the federal government actually bear the brunt of these responsibilities? All right, I will take the next story here. This one is coming from the Daily Trust, published in the Daily Trust. Campaign, caution your thugs. NSA warns governors. Here are the details. The National Security Advisor, Major General Babagana Mongono, cautioned state governors using thugs to prevent opposition from placing their campaign materials in strategic points, that security agents will soon take necessary measures if such actions continue. Now, this is something he said yesterday while he was featuring at the ministerial media briefing, which was organized by the communications team at the presidential villa. He reacted to reports of state governors implementing policies that prevented the present opposition campaign materials in their states. And the NSA said that there was no hiding place for the perpetrators when the law enforcement agencies moved, and blamed the action on what he called inferiority complex. And he also warned the governors to restrain their thugs and said that President Muhammadu Buhari had given clear directives that the 2023 elections must be free, that it must be fair, and it must be credible. So he's warning governors to call their capo regime, that's how he describes it, to order, because in his words, when we move, there will be no hiding place. So no hiding place for thugs during this elections. Now, we also know that quite a number of INEC offices have been attacked, including one that happened several days ago. So who are these thugs? Who is it? Yesterday, I was at an event, which was the book launch. It was a book launch on political violence in Nigeria. It was a study of everything that has happened over the course of the past 22, 23 years of our democracy. And so many people had different views about, why political violence happens, who this violence happens to. We talked about the peace accords that have been signed. And it's a very creative thing. But I think yesterday was the first time that I had a full picture of what these peace accords are supposed to do, because one of the participants actually stood up and asked a question and said, what about these peace accords? How come we're not holding the candidates responsible for the actions of their followers? And there was a gentleman who was, he is part of the organizations that organize these peace accords and write out these documents. He said, first and foremost, these peace accords are not legal documents. They're actually just guidelines, more or less an MOU, but not written in legal language, and therefore have no particular legal bearing. But he said that perhaps we should look at making these peace accords proper legal documents. Maybe this is something that we should do. And but then somebody else intervened and said, no, it's not a question of codifying these things into law. These legal documents are largely, or these peace accords are largely symbolic. And because they're symbolic, basically it's just to show that the participant, the candidate, has goodwill. But that these conflicts are sponsored on various levels, that there are levels below the candidate, some levels where the candidate may not even be aware. And some of these people are the ones who actually go out there and perpetrate violence. So it's a very layered thing. It's complicated. And maybe it's something that we need to look at really closely if we want to prevent electoral violence and thugs. Well, I've just been joined by Lawrence Umoite. He's finally made it here. Lawrence, how's the traffic been out there?
Good morning, Stanley. It's crazy out there, but we thank God.
What was it? What was it? Was it
the normal gridlock in Bacha Barracks, but today it wasn't. It was more than
It was unusually
tight.
I hope it was not a vehicle that broke down.
No, I think there are some cars that will drop and pick off passengers at the foot of the bridge. So when they do that, they don't park properly. It will block the flow of other passengers from other vehicles from moving. And when they do that, when 2 or 3 cars do that, it's going to have a backlog. And the heavy traffic coming in.
Well, I was once stuck in that traffic. I don't envy you. But
normally Fridays are easy. That's why I had the impression that it was just going to be easy.
Yeah, but you never know. You really never know. All right. Incidentally, we do have a caller who's just joining us. All right. Hello. Good morning.
Hello. Good morning, Stanley.
All right. Could you tell us your name, where you're calling from?
Yeah, David from Central Area. Good morning, Mr. Lawrence.
Good morning, David. How are you today?
I'm good. Sorry for the hold up on every time.
It's all right.
I just want to. You see what the federal government told the governors. They might be right too. They might be right because you see our governors are not doing enough. They are not doing much because they will only come to Abuja and collect allocation and go back and spend it and leaving the people in the rural area, that is the local government, impoverished. They are not doing much. They are not harnessing the resources they have. Because most of the resources that we we have in Nigeria, they are embedded in local government, in state. And the state government are not making use of those resources. The devolution of power, in fact, I don't know why the National Assembly, they have not passed that bill into law. They should give more power to local government and let them control their resources. Hello, are you there?
Yes, we're with you. Absolutely.
Yes. And then the second point I want to raise is an observation. Stanley, please don't be offended, but it's an observation from me. I'm saying it that you are not giving us more headline. You are only taking for 5 papers thereabout.
Okay.
So we are not having much headline.
All right. We will expand the headline pool.
Okay, thank you very much, sir.
All right, and try to take on even more stories, more stories as much as possible. Yes, but feel free to join us by calling 0903 22 29 797 or 0818 22 22 205 and 0808 22 22 037. Hello, good morning.
Hello, Stanley. Good morning.
Great to hear from you today.
Good morning,
Thank
Kennedy.
This is Kennedy. Lawrence, good morning.
Good morning, Ken.
Thank you. I just want to say this. This about 5 days now, I've been so happy with Mr. President Muhammad Buhari. I've been a happy man. I love the way he said things. He said them correctly, but I still realize the problem with him, and I want to share it so that if anybody that is close to him, tell him this will help us. It will help build Nigeria, make Nigeria more great. Recently he complained when he discovered that some state governors, when he heard about weapons coming in, he alerted us. You get it? Very good. That is information. Now, with a former experience, he told us about local government, what they are passing through. Very good. He even analyzed. He said, for instance, 100 million is taken to them. They will be forced to sign 50 million, and 50 million will be shared. You just heard him, right? Now he has identified the problem. What's the way forward? Why don't you grant local government autonomous? He's there, he can do it. So if he has realized this is what the common...
Yeah, here is the problem, Kennedy.
Okay.
For the local governments to be granted autonomy by law, it requires an act of the National Assembly because, according to our Constitution, the weak link is our Constitution said that there is a joint local government and state government account, and the state governor is the most senior person there. So what tends to happen is the state governor just signs that.
Mr. President just identifies, say, the governor share it with some persons. Do you think he shared it with the people working in the local government? That is why it will be difficult for that to be signed.
Yes. So the challenge we're having now is that for this law to be changed, National Assembly would have to make that, which I think that they have. But then there's we now have to go back to the state houses of assembly. This is where the weak link is.
Quite understandable.
70% or 75% have to pass
Does it mean that a sitting governor cannot be checked?
Yes, it compromises us because the sitting governor has basically blanket immunity. And so the EFCC cannot arrest him. They can only maybe arrest some of his associates and then try to build a case against him. And these cases...
So why don't they do that? Because recently we just discovered that some sitting governors, it is when it is on few months for them to leave the office. That's when they even conduct local government elections. So where is the money going?
Yeah, so let me explain that to you. So maybe the EFCC begins an investigation to a governor maybe 2 or 3 years into his tenure. He has immunity for another 6, 7 years. And within that time period where the EFCC cannot touch him, evidence can be tampered with. Some witnesses could die, or disappear or things like that. So it makes it very difficult. And that is why some people are saying maybe we should remove that immunity to allow the EFCC more efficiency. But to even remove that, but even to do that, you now have to go back to, because it requires a constitutional change. And to change the constitution, you have to go back to the state houses of assembly, who are largely under the total control of the state governors. So the state governors have undue. So it's a major challenge.
So that I also allow other persons to contribute. Now, Mr. President has identified the problem. He should give us the way forward. Thank you so much.
All right.
He should help us out because we can't help ourselves. So he should help us out.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you, Kennedy. Well, I don't know to what extent, but Kennedy did ask what is the way forward. Lawrence, what's your view? What ideas do you have?
I wish I knew the way forward because you see, Stanley, just like you said, the governors have read the situation and they know that as long as it takes constitutional amendment to check some of these things, they will always be a step ahead.
All right, we have another call coming in. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
All right, could you tell us your name, where you're calling from, and go ahead with your comment?
Okay, good morning, Stanley. I'm ID Noble.
Okay. Oh, thank you for joining us this morning. Please go ahead.
Yes, please. You answered the last caller correctly. The only problem we have now is how to get the thing done. Just as you said, the whole of state is in the pocket of every government. And if you are to follow this gentleman's way of doing it, one thing is that I'm not advocating for violence. But to me, it's looking like the only option out.
No, well, we would not encourage that.
I'm not in any way saying that we should go that route. I'm not saying so. But I look at it from up to down. I see no way out. Now, if you say, let's then change it through the National Assembly. Just as you said, they are there. And they have a way of influencing their own houses of assembly. Not to, look at the one they have just done now. How many? Only 16 out of 36 have responded so far. So, if this admission should go now, the whole thing we have done about that amendment, everything is gone. Nothing is there. So now, if you should come up with a better one, because this blanket immunity of a thing, personally, I hate it. And because these people, they are just eating money, and nobody can call them to order. And the president doesn't have the power. Not our constitution doesn't have the power. So now, please, if you don't mind, help us get, I don't know, maybe a resource person to come and help us to put mouth into this thing, because this thing is really, really affecting this country. So look at, when Okonjo-Iweala was there, she was publishing the money going to every state.
That's right.
Now, if you look at the money that has gone to each state, and you look at what they will have used this money to do, honestly, we are taking up a lot of people off the street. I mean, in terms of giving them work to do. But now, where are these money? So, see, it's something that we cannot just be talking like this every time. We must find a solution. There must be a solution. That is just my...
All right. Yeah, thank you very much. And honestly, IG, you just pointed out a critical aspect of this communication. It's a joint effort. And I think this is why, because the president was basically talking extempore. It was not a prepared speech, but he was venting his frustration. He says this is his personal experience. So he's basically putting it on the table of Nigerians and saying that, something needs to be done about this. So let's also hear from this caller. Hello, good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Stanley.
Yeah, great to hear from you. Tell us your name, where you're calling from.
Good morning.
My name is Patrick.
Okay, Patrick, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Mr. Stanley. Mr. President, his statement is not, to me, it's not a surprise. 13 years ago, I remember sitting down with one senior nurse in one of these state hospital. So he was telling me the same thing that Mr. President just said. So how some state governors receive money from the federation account, and for local governments, they siphon the money. So they only give the local government chairman. Let's say you want to receive 160 million. So they only give you 60 million and they will hold on to 100 million. So that 13 years ago, so when he made that confession to me, I was hoping that as Mr. President came and he know this, he could have just implemented, he could have seen a way for him to solve this problem so that it will stop. And going forward then, the only solution to this thing is autonomy for the local government areas. And how do we get it? Since some of these state governors are adamant that they don't want autonomy for local government. So we the people now, we need to push for it. We need to push for it in our various state of assemblies. So they must give that autonomy to local government chairman so that the local government area can be so much developed. We are tired of seeing only the state capital looking so much like a city, while the local government area is looking like one ancient town. So we need autonomy for the local government chairman.
Yeah, Pat, I love what you say, especially when you talk about we the people and what we can do. Even we as in the media, we have a big role to play. And if you've noticed, this has been a major part of my conversation today since I started at 6:30, because we give platform to people who say the center, and we don't give sufficient platform to people who say, look, there's a lot going on at the state level, and we need to put this. What the media can do is the media has the power to make this a burning issue by putting it on the front burner. So this is our power. We can only talk, but when we talk, we inspire people to understand that this is a serious problem. And I think by the president's statement, it's a cry out for support from the media and for the public to push this change
and for
through.
the public, all of us, we need to push for this. There must be autonomy for the local government area. You need the local government to be so developed. A lot of poverty is most of this rural area, and this rural area is made up of the local government area. So there is no good road, there is no good hospital, there is no good schools, and there is money meant for all this every month, and some people are just holding on to the money. And talking about immunity, I am among those people who say they should remove immunity. Long ago, about 10 years ago, I said they should remove immunity for state governors, because the more they have this immunity, the more they behave as if they own the state, and they are just elected by the people to lead and to give good governance, but they just do whatever they like and just live there. So they should remove immunity from them. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I like that perspective. Okay, we still have time, so please join us on this conversation. Call 0903-2229-797 or 0808-2222-037. Okay, we have another caller. Let's listen to this. Hello, good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Stanley, sir.
Okay, thank you very much for joining us. Tell us your name.
Good morning, Mr. Lawrence Omoite, sir.
Good morning, sir.
Thank you, sir. This is Mr. Godwin Owen Abo, calling from Maraba.
Okay. Lawrence knows everyone's voice.
On the what the president has just said concerning state governors, I think it should not just go beyond speaking. The president remains the supreme leader of the country. The president has to enforce other financial agencies to monitor these governors who collect money and think they can do away with impunity without making sure money gets to their various local government.
Hello?
Plus, to governors should be removed. That
Oh dear.
Godwin, you're breaking.
Sorry, Godwin, you're breaking up, but we still have a few minutes. So if you want to rejoin us, you can do so. I think that a lot of people are in support of this removal of the immunity clause, Lawrence.
But
again,
I don't think
it's another major challenge.
It is. I would rather we'd not tread that route. For me, I think, Stanley, what we need to do is, first of all, take a look at our recruitment process into our parliament. Because that's it. If you have a robust parliament in the state level, a robust House of Assembly that is not controlled by the governor, the immunity doesn't matter. If the governor misbehaves, he will be impeached. Flawlessly, seamlessly. But the problem is it's almost impossible to impeach a sitting governor except with the interference from maybe the center or some other interest, the way it is now.
But let me interrupt you, Lawrence. We have a caller on the line. Hello, good morning.
Good morning, Lawrence. Good morning, Stanley.
Yeah.
I am Olawale. I'm calling from Area 1.
Thank you.
Good morning,
Good morning, Olawale.
How are you doing? How is work?
Fine, thank you.
I want to make a quick comment about what Mr. President says and what some of our callers. Yeah, Mr. President has been able to identify the problem, which most of us know anyway. And I think, to be fair to Mr. President, the fact that this assembly has been able to even pass that bill for local government autonomy means that Mr. President supports what he's saying. Now, the ball is the court of the state government. That bill has been out for how many months now, and we've not had a number of states that should pass it. Now, to me, this is off Mr. President's hands. For some of our colleagues that think Mr. President, Nigerians, this moment want Mr. President to be democratic when it suits us. The next moment, we want him to be autocratic when it suits the other way around. So, if we want him to be democratic, he has done his bit. Let the other stakeholders, in this case, governors, do their bit. And if they are not, then it becomes the citizenry to challenge their respective government if they believe in so much. This government have staff now. They have association of local government employees. Know them. Let these people start that demonstration, protest from even local government to force the state government or the state assemblies to support this bill. Everything is not about center, it's not about federal government, it's not about the president. Let people live to their responsibility. This local government has staff, they have residents that benefit from this local government. Let the protest start from them. Then maybe that will force the assembly to do the right thing. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for that contribution. Yeah, well, I think it's not always about disagreeing with the federal government. It's also about maybe when the federal government is in a position on a policy that is in line with what the people want, then the people should give the federal government that support and make sure that some of these things are carried out, right? Because it's not going to be easy.
It's not. And I also, I wish, this is a challenge to some state governors to come out to say, no, we are not part of, okay, let's take this call.
Let's take this call. Hello, good morning.
Sorry, please, just a few seconds.
Okay. We do have, we have about 40 seconds.
Okay, please. Are we the only country in the whole world? There's other countries that they don't give their public servants immunity. Why must it be only Nigeria? So this country needs help. Why must it be only Nigeria? Look at what is happening to this president of South Africa now. Why must it be only Nigeria? Immunity every time. And they are using this immunity to do a lot of evil to this country. And we say the country is not moving forward. Look at it. You brought somebody to your studio, Mr. Kennedy, Francis or something like that. See the way he spoke about this issue of oil something. Very fine presentation. But up to now, we are just talking about we don't have the solution. And not that we don't have the solution, no. But the way we have to go about it, we are standing behind. We don't want to do anything about it.
Right.
How do we go to the National Assembly now? Or say that as Assembly and say we want to get this thing rectified. It cannot be done, no. We still have to find a way out. That is just the truth. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Again, critical point there. There are countries where even the head of state of that country does not have immunity. So it's a crazy thing. Thank you to everybody for sharing those views. So we'll take a break. When we come back, we'll be talking about the unending petrol scarcity. Christmas is coming. So how are you coping? And is there a way out? Do not go away. We will be right back.